Abby, you will not say this about yourself, but you are a legend, not only in women's soccer, but in sports. You are the face and the voice of an entire generation of female athletes. And I know we have a lot of female athletes in the room because they took a survey before, and 25% of the women in this room played college sports. It's amazing. You made it your career. After you guys won the World Cup, you went to the White House, and Barack Obama said this about the U.S. women's national team. He said, "This team taught all American children that playing like a girl means you're a badass." The leader of the badass team is right here. Okay. What did it feel like to win that World Cup? This is something that eluded you your entire career, and you finally got it.
Well, obviously, anybody here knows it was amazing, you know, what an accomplishment. But I think what, for me, was more important is how it kind of transcended the sport. The summer was amazing because we had 12-year-old boys that were pumped, right, to meet the Abby Wambachs and Alex Morgans of the world. And that made me realize that that 12-year-old girl that goes to school the next day or the next school year, she can stand a little bit taller because that 12-year-old boy thinks that, you know, our team is a little bit better than the men's team.
Okay, that's that. Okay, your team is better than the men's team. The final for the Women's World Cup was the most watched soccer match in the United States of any soccer match ever. This is more than any men's match, more than the NBA Finals, more than the NHL Finals. Yet, your entire team was paid $2 million for winning the World Cup. The men's German team that won the Men's World Cup the year before made $35 million. Just to give a little bit more about this pay gap, the total payout for women who won the World Cup was $15 million. The total payout for men, $576 million. Did you have any idea how big the pay gap was?
Yeah. That's my life. I've been living it for, 30 years. I've been playing the game and just recently announced my retirement coming in a couple weeks. And the minute I announced my retirement, I started to really reflect on my career and everything, and I started to get pissed because I look to my counterparts across the aisle and I go, resumes aside, if, talking about Ronaldo and the Messis and Landon Donovans, they get to walk away from their sport battered and bruised, and not have to worry about what am I going to do next. And so that's impassioned me for the last couple of weeks to lose a little bit of my soccer identity and kind of create this new thing. And my agent thinks that I have like 10 heads because every day I call him with like a new idea and a new person I want to meet and a new something. And Alyssa alluded to it earlier, that there's some sort of like molecular energy pull that's happening with powerful women. And I know you guys all feel it because I literally walked around the hallway into the lobby and it stopped me in my tracks at the power I felt from the energy in the room when you guys were outside. It was really loud, but but the energy, it punched me in my face. And I just want to say that enough is enough. Enough is enough.
How do we turn that into tangible change, in your opinion?
We've been letting it happen. Like everybody in this room, you haven't let it happen to you specifically, right? You're the 5% that don't allow the inequality to happen to you. And we have to create something. And so that's where I'm at. I'm just like, I'm in the middle of this creation of something that's tangible. Mm-hmm. It's not a movement. And we talked at the table that, maybe it has to become a law or something. But like, we have to just stop allowing this to happen. And I don't know, if I have to be a face of it, then fine, I don't care. But it has to stop.
You mentioned something earlier about how it was cool when the 12-year-old boys were just as proud that the U.S. women's national team won the World Cup as the little girls were. Do men have to be a part of closing these wage gaps? And how can they play a role?
Absolutely. And that's the thing. I'm not like male hating. Like, I believe that we need them too, obviously. But the reality is I think that people are so innately brought up to believe that women are less than, that we're not as strong or not as powerful. It's something that's so deep inside you that you don't even know that it's happening. And you don't even know that you're being mistreated. You don't even know it. And so I'm trying to go around and talk to as many CEOs and get into as many companies and in front of as many powerful people as I can, just to start a conversation for now. Mm-hmm. And I think that this is why I'm here, Mm-hmm. This is starting a conversation, and it's so deep in some people that the first question is, well, how are you gonna do it? And all of that to me is saying, I'm scared. So don't be scared. Don't be scared.
Going back, though, to how you got to where you are, obviously you had the innate confidence to become a world-class and one of the best soccer players of all time. But were you encouraged to follow that dream, or were there people kind of holding you back, and did you have to have this massive chip on your shoulder?
I think throughout my whole life, I was the youngest of 7. So my whole life I was like clawing for everything, food. Attention from my parents, whatever it was. So I was fighting from like an early age, but I did have a really loving and accepting environment. And when like your 5-year-old little sister is beating you at every sport, you gain a little confidence then,
When did you realize you were that good? When did you realize that you could not only play soccer at a high level, but that you could become a professional and that you could become one of the elite players?
I know this might be hard to believe. I have a sense of myself, but I never look at myself in the mirror and go, yeah, you are number 1 in the world. Scored a couple goals last night, you're good. Because the reality is no matter how I am, no matter how good I am on the field, that doesn't mean I'm a good person. So I base everything I do on who I am internally and not what I do externally. And that's really important, having some sort of balance and being able to hold yourself accountable. I think that everybody tries to please other people and holds themselves accountable only by what others think. Mm-hmm. And I just hold myself accountable to what I think.
Well, that's interesting, though, because you are a huge role model. So is there sort of a double-edged sword that you can hold yourself accountable, yet millions of people are looking up to you? What are the challenges that come with that?
Well, I've gotten this question a few times, and people are like, oh, social media, and like, how do you know what to write and what to say and yada, yada. Well, I'm a good person. So if you're really trying to censor yourself, then there's like probably something going on there. I'm serious. I don't get it. Like I write on Twitter and social media how I'm feeling. Right now I have a muffin addiction. I can't break it. So I'm socially shaming myself every time I eat a muffin. I take a picture and I post it on Twitter.
I feel like you earned a couple muffins after all the training.
That's what everybody keeps saying,
through.
But when you're done playing, you got to be a little bit more careful.
Okay, so let's talk about...
Just being honest.
Talk about now being done playing, because you have obviously a lot of goals and a lot of things that you want to accomplish. You want to build on the legacy that you've already created on the soccer field. But I know, because I've interviewed a lot of athletes, retirement can be very difficult. Retirement can be tough because it takes away everything you knew and just throws that into a complete tailspin. Have you thought about that and how you're going to try to overcome that?
Well, I think that for 30 years I've identified very much as a soccer player. And every second since I've announced my retirement, that identity kind of gets shed. And I think for the last couple of years, I was a little bit terrified of like, what would the next thing be? And now that I said it out loud, it's like this whole new world opened up, because I was so one-track minded that it was just all about foot soccer and eating right and staying fit and everything. And there's like a lot of stuff that needs to change. And since I retired, I've gotten really impassioned, and people ask me, what are you going to do next? And I'm like, well, I'm going to change the world.
Great.
And people are like, and people are like, how are you going to do it? I'm like, it doesn't matter. I'm going to figure out a way. I'm going to find a way. And I'm not scared to say that. Like, people don't understand that I'm not scared to fail once, twice, 3 times over the next 3 years, because the failures are the things and the reasons why I was able to be so successful playing. The failures are the things that I focus mostly about. I never won a state high school championship. I'm still pissed about it. Seriously.
I hope you can let that go at some point. We're going to open it up to the audience. Athletes, we're going to open up to the audience if anyone has any questions. I can see you in the back. Yes?
So thank you, Abby. Thank you for all of it.
You're welcome.
How can we help you? How
So-
can we help you? Because that's what sisters
Great
do.
question.
That's the beauty of Powerful Women, is the sorority that you have here in this room. How can we help you?
Great question. And I think that it's been like a law of attraction thing ever since I said I was going to retire, and I've said kind of out loud that I'm going to change the world, and all of this stuff kind of has happened. And it kind of resonated me big time when I turned the corner and felt the energy. And the reality is this is like a little sorority we have. And I think that we just need to keep a conversation going, and I'm going to figure out something tangible in the near future. But I think what you can do is, in your businesses and in your industries, just keep the conversation going and have, because do I believe right now it's going to change like that? No. But I think that enough is enough, not just the gender pay gap. I think that it's just opportunity. And having, female board members making decisions about what's going on. And you guys are the group, and my agent's in the back. Everybody can give him your card. I'll just call you individually. We could hook up. But the reality is, for me, is I will be and do whatever is necessary to make sure that by the time that I'm dead, that this is no longer an issue. Period.
We have time for one more question from the audience. One more question from the audience? Yes. Hey, Poppy.
Hey, hi, Poppy with CNN. I've interviewed a lot of CEOs over the last few years who have told me repeatedly that they feel like they can affect more change outside of Washington. And that makes me sad to think that there is less and less of a belief in our political system. And you are so impassioned, and you have so many young people that look up to you, and older people. And I'm just interested if you've ever thought about sort of at least a little bit of time in politics, if that crosses your mind in terms of how to affect change, or if that's—
You want me to
just
run for
not—
president after Hillary wins? I'll run for president
or
after
if that's
Hillary's
a
second term.
non-starter for you. But I'm just interested in your perspective about sort of government versus private sector to affect change.
I think that you're right. I think that the millennial generation, I just missed it, so we can talk about them in here. They're so against politics because they just haven't really seen it change much, and I think that now socially we're in a different landscape with the social media. There's so much more information, and there's so much scandal and all this stuff. The politics seems a little dirty, but the reality is like Alyssa was saying earlier, one moment can literally create a movement. And I think that for me, my moment was realizing that I accepted being paid and being treated unequally for the entirety of my career. And I'm going to make that different. I'm going to make that different for the next generation.
Amazing. Abby, your last game is coming up December 16th in New Orleans.
Thank God.
Well deserved. Abby Wambach, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.